Peace. Shalom. Ch.10. Now we're back for chapter 10, or Baseball Diamond 10, of our book, Balls of Fire. This one is called Francis's Trouble with the Curve. Don't forget the screenshot if you don't have the book and you like to read along with me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. Jesus therefore saw the tax collector, and because he saw the deplorable together with the plucked out, he says to him, "Follow me." Literal Latin motto. In our motto for understanding, name the game of the centuries, we are featuring the proactive pitcher Francis on the Dunderhead Fantasy Draft team, who is also known as Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the 266th Pope of the Catholic Church. For a long time, all a pontiff had to do was throw his mitt down on the historical muscle field to scare off opposition. But today, the ball game is different. People are thinking and choosing. As the starting pitcher, Francis has a colorful coat of arms or blue shield depicting a gold and silver key cross beneath the headdress like the ancient Egyptian pharaoh's crook and flail. See figure 10.1. And I'm going to show that right quick. Centered between a gold cross on each arm is a radiant sun with the monogram of Christ, or IHS, often interpreted as Jesus Hominium Salvator, Latin, Jesus, Savior of Men. This monogram is crowned with a cross, and below it are three nails. Beneath this is an 8-pointed star associated with the Virgin Mary, along with a spikenard or flowering plant suggestive of vegetative replication. Since the spikenard is an angiosperm or seed-producing plant, that is, the plant flowers and also produces fruits that contain seeds. Below these signs is the Latin motto, Vidit ergo Jesus publicano et quia miserando acec alindo vidit ait illi secur me. According to the Catholic World Report, the translation is, Jesus therefore sees the tax collector, and since he sees by having mercy and by choosing, he says to him, "Follow me." And this is from Harmon 2013. The motto is from the 7th century Venerable Bede's homily on the Gospel of St. Matthew's about Christ asking the tax collector to follow me. However, the literal translation of "et quia miserando ec lindo vidit" is, and because he saw the deplorable together with the plucked out. This suggests that the tax collector was also deplorable and plucked out, rather than saved. The mistranslated motto is clearly a curve away from the literal Latin. In the Gospel of Matthew, Christ is often speaking as a judge, trying to determine the sheep from the goats, the good seed from the bad weed, and the good fish from the fowl. Christ says, if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and throw it away. Matthew 18:9. Obviously, no one is going to pluck out his own eye on the premise that the eye sinned. So Christ must be reinforcing the value of hypercritical judgment that the eye sinned. So Christ must be reinforcing the value of hypercritical judgment skills. In Matthew 7:13 through 14, Christ explains, enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those that enter by it are many. For the gate for the gate is narrow and the way is hard and leads to life, and those who find it are few. As mentioned earlier, nature's modus operandi is the survival of the few over the many, and Christ agrees. Christ also speaks of trees that grow good and bad fruit, mentioning that the bad fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Matthew 7:15 through 19. In Matthew 10:34, Christ states, do not think that I have come to bring peace on earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. So Jesus is holding true to his unmerciful, sword-spitting, apocalyptic presence in Revelation, where most of humanity is annihilated. Now, Latin is a literal language of words that does not deviate from original meanings, yet non-literal or figurative language is often used to alter the literal meanings, and perhaps that is what happened with the Pope's Latin motto from the Saint Betty's 7th century homily. So let's look at the Latin motto in light of its literal message. According to Dr. John C. Trotman's Latin and English dictionary in 1966, used as a non-publican means tax collector or publican. Used as an adjective, publicanum refers to public revenue, and revenue in Latin is fructus or fruit, along with the second meaning of proceeds, profit, income. Fructus possesses a third meaning of enjoyment, satisfaction, benefit, reward, results. Also, taxo means to appraise. And indeed, Jesus is appraising or judging individuals in Matthew's gospel. Continuing with the literal translation of the Latin motto, atque means and because, and vidit means he saw. So we have Jesus therefore saw the tax collector, the public revenue, fruit, or proceeds, and because he saw, now here is where the Pope's Latin motto or figurative curveball misses the literal mark. Consider that the curveball is a pitch with forward spin that causes it to dive in a downward path as it approaches the plate. The Pope has trouble with his curve because it does not dive downward towards the dirt as it approaches the plate. It moves in a direction opposite to the curve, opposite to a literal translation of his Latin motto. So the Pope has trouble with his curve. Let me further explain. Now, if one translates Misrando ec lindo in the Pope's coat of arms and in the Latin motto as the Vatian meaning of the lowly but chosen, or by having mercy by choosing him, then the core literal Latin meaning is altered and softened. This is because misrandus means deplorable, pitiable, and the verb eglo means pluck out or root out, extract, Inglindo is a participle of inglindus, which is to be extracted from the future passive participle iglio, to pluck out, or figuratively to pick out, choose. This makes one think that the tax collector was part of the plucked out and deplorable bad fruit. The Vatian figurative language of by having mercy, by choosing him, and lowly but chosen does not mean the same as the literal interpretation of deplorable as well as plucked out. If we look deeper into the Latin motto, the plucked out interpretation suggests destruction of the bad fruit that Christ is appraising in Matthew's gospel. Now, with the Latin word miserati, meaning pity, compassion, sympathy, was used instead of misrandus, pitiable, deplorable, then the current Catholic translation might have some credibility. The problem with the Pope's curveball is that his Latin motto has too much of a curve away from the literal Latin translation. Actually, the Pope's pitch is a screwball because it moves in the opposite, well, it moves in a direction opposite to the curveball. A screwball like that could strike out or pluck out a lot of batters. So the Catholic interpretation of the Pope's Latin motto on his coat of arms centers on a figurative, softened translation of St. Betty's homily, favoring mercy rather than destruction. Also, the Catholic view in that the coat of arms depicts real people and real events. The dying Jesus nailed to his cross, the Virgin Mary associated with a star, the fruiting spikenard plant. However, another interpretation exists. Recall that the Egyptian goddess Isis is a sign for lactose metabolism. Is also associated with the stars, the Milky Way, and virginity, while the Pope's coat of two arms easily represents the two arms of lambda genomes. In fact, the coat of arm itself suggests lambda's colorful coat protein, showing that human creativity may be due to viral gene inspiration. The warrior shield suggests a battle between two lambda proteins over vegetative replication. Cloning is involved in rolling circle replication, and this is very similar to the activity of the seed producing spikenard that produces seed genetically identically to itself, clones. What is surfacing here is a deeper biological interpretation based on the actions of signs related to an ancient viral gene expression network. Further, various Latin meanings relate to a fruit, profit, and reward pertaining to appraisal and judgment. For many are called, but few are chosen in Matthew 22:14. In the actual viral replication process, the Egyptian deity Osiris represents the substrate or chemical species which reacts with a reagent or substance added to a system in order to bring about the chemical reaction. Both Osiris and Christ represent the rising prophets in the process of rolling replication and requires additional reagents that are also degraded for necessary non-native interactions. So if we take Osiris or Christ as a sign for viral substrate or which the process occurs, the Egyptian plebeians and Christian parishioners as the unwitting reagents that are deprived of the necessary knowledge to avoid degradation, then following Osiris or Christ may be the pathway to degradation, not survival, especially for the tax collector in Matthew's gospel, who may have been called but not chosen. Now, even though the Pope has trouble with his curve on his coat of arms in his apostolic exhortation, Evangelii Gaudium, or Joy of Gospel, he uses a strong armed verbal hardball to smash capitalism by calling it callous and tyrannical.